This interview has been tape recorded and may be given evidence of your choices brought to trial, and PC 652 Tolson investigating the offence of the production of cannabis. Also present is
PC 3788 Wood.
and I'm interviewing. Can I ask you to state your name and your date of birth, please, for the tape?
No consent.
No consent. All right. The time by my watch is 17:24 hours, and we're in an interview room at Normanton Police Station. You're entitled to have free legal advice. Do you want to have a solicitor present?
No consent.
Do you want to speak to a solicitor by telephone?
No consent.
Any time during this interview, if you want to change your mind, you can do, and we'll stop this interview and we'll get one for you. I must caution you don't have to say anything, may harm your defence. If you do not mention when questioned something later on in court, anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand the caution? Do you understand the caution? You don't understand the caution? I'll explain it to you then.
You understand no consent?
You do not have to say anything.
That's all I want to say, no
Right.
consent.
I'll explain it to you. You don't have to say anything. That means you do not have to say anything.
We need to explain it so that we're happy, we know that you understand what we're saying.
Okay? The first part, you don't have to say anything. The first part, you don't have to say anything. The first part, you don't have to say anything. It's your right not to answer them. It's your right not to answer them. It's your right not to answer them. And that is what you chooses to do. But it may harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned something later on in court. That means we're going to ask you a load of questions today. However, if this goes to court, you will have to answer these questions. The first part, you don't have to say anything. It's your right not to answer them. And the court will think that you've had all this time to make a good story up. So that's how it might harm your defence. Anything you say will be given evidence. Obviously, it's been recorded, so that can be used in evidence in court. So that I'll explain it for you.
Just clarify full name and date of birth.
Yeah, can you just clarify your full name and date of birth, please?
Is that your name?
Can you just confirm where you live? Do you live at Castleford? I understand you were quite upset that officers have forced entry into your flat. Do you want to ask any questions about that? Do you not want to know the collar numbers of the officers that went into your flat?
I'm just going to explain why you're here today. I know you've attended the police station because you're unhappy officers have been into your address, but officers were there and located various items, including cannabis, which is obviously an illegal drug, which you're not allowed in this country to be growing in your home address. We need to ask you questions about that today because drugs were located in the address which we believe is your house. Today is your opportunity to tell us about that.
Well, my colleague says they found in your flat that you have possession of that flat, you control that flat. So them cannabis plants were technically your property. So you need to explain to us why you've got them in your flat. Do you know that growing cannabis is illegal against the law? Is there any reason or excuse that you've got for growing cannabis? There's some damage to your door. Do you know how that damage was caused? No? Do you know what about somebody jumping out of a window and running out the street in boxer shorts? That's the reason why police were called. You're not going to be doing yourself any favours here, you know. So it goes to court, you can't sit there in the courtroom and do this. It's your right not to answer them. We're just going to go through and ask you questions anyway, because when it goes to court then, we've asked everything then, haven't we? turn in your flat that says, due to the amount of damage to the door, and there was no answer to knocking and repeated shouting, the forced entry to the address to preserve life, because somebody's been seen jumping out of a window of that flat. We don't know what's happened inside that flat. For all we know, somebody could be very badly injured or even dead in that flat. So officers of forced entry to preserve life, section 17 of PACE. Once they've got in that flat, they could smell cannabis. The first 2 bedrooms had large black tents were located. Within the tents was cannabis plants growing under hydroponic light. You got anything to say about that? Does that tent belong to you? Outside of the tent, in the far corner of the room, was a large green net hanging from the ceiling. This was split into 2 shelves. Upon all these shelves was cannabis, which had been cropped and was drying out. This was later seized as Exhibit AF4. Right. Anything to reply about that? Was it your cannabis that you cropped and were drying out? What were you going to use that cannabis for? They made their way to the second bedroom, which had a window open. Just under the window, to the right hand side of the floor, was a makeshift enclosed area with another 4 cannabis plants growing under hydroponic lights. And the fans were going to circulate the air. Do you know what about that? Can you tell me why they were there? And then checked the electric box was located just next to the front door. The dial appeared not to be moving, which gave them some suspicion it may have been bypassed. The Yorkshire Electricity Board was requested to examine the meter. Had meter been tampered with? We're using your electric from that flat to grow them cannabis. I've also used body camera to record the footage. The body camera was serial number 5022. There's some paperwork in this kitchen, this flat, with the name of dated on 21st of May 2015. Without your letter. Well, it must be your flat to have that in your flat with your name on it. They've seized grow lamps from the bedroom, the chest of drawers, Exhibit AF3. All the property's been seized and booked in. Is that what you want to tell me about it? So, officers have gone round to your flat because they've seen a report of somebody jumping out of a bedroom, a flat window in boxer shorts, being chased out street by 2 lads with hoodies carrying a long thin thing. Obviously officers have done an area search, couldn't find anybody. So they've got concerns. So they've come across your flat that you live in with a window open and a lot of damage to the front door, like somebody's been trying to get in. So of course officers are going to be worried that somebody's in there needing assistance, possibly medical assistance. So they've gained entry to preserve life, and when they've got in there, which is your flat, they've found a load of cannabis growing, a load of cannabis drying out. So you were arrested for production of cannabis. You attended police station, did you not? Wanted to make a complaint about the officers. This for today, at 10:20 hours. Oh, you want to tell me? Only thing you said there is you don't consent. What don't you consent to? You were wanting to know a warrant for officers that come into your flat? Just thought I'd cleared it up for you that don't need a warrant. That's what I explained. Gone in there to preserve life because I reasonably suspect that somebody could be in there. And obviously we've come across all this illegal cannabis. Quite a lot. Not like a small amount, is it? That you'd find in a little grinder or something like that. But you're growing it for somebody. What were you intending to do with that cannabis? Were you intending to supply that cannabis to somebody? If you're growing it for somebody, let us know who you're growing it for. Has somebody forced you to grow it for them? So your silence is telling me that nobody's forced you to grow it, that you're growing it off your own back, and you're growing that much of it that you're intending to supply it to somebody or other people, and in fact, a drug dealer. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Are you sure you don't speak to a solicitor? So that's your legal right, if you want to do so, to make sure you understand what you're doing today and how it can, basically if it goes to court, how it can look with you today not answering any of the questions. You can even speak to one on telephone if you want, you ain't got to wait long for it. Judging by that silence that you don't wish to speak to a solicitor.
Do you understand all the questions that we're asking you? Can you hear us fine? Do you have a problem with your ears? Are you partially deaf? Can you understand? This is your chance to tell us if we're wrong.
I know that you're not happy that you've been arrested today, but, as we've explained, why we were there, we've explained why we've been in the flat, why we've taken things, we've explained today why you've been arrested on suspicion of production of cannabis. This interview, it's your time to tell us your version of events and your story. As my colleague said at the start of the interview, went through the caution with you, basically, what today by you not answering the questions. And if it goes to court, the court will ask you questions, and again, if you do answer the questions, they'll wonder why you've not answered them today to us, thinking you had time to think up a story. So that can draw what's called a negative inference for you. Is there anything you wish to say whatsoever?
I do not consent to this action.
What do you not consent to? I don't understand, when you say you don't consent to this action, what action?
Explain it to us. What action is it you don't consent to? You don't consent to being interviewed? Is that what you're saying? Explain it to us. What don't you consent to? At the end of the day, where you live has been found a load of cannabis growing, drying. You need to explain why it's in your flat, what you intend to do with it.
What's your home address? If you don't answer that question, you might end up, unless you can give us an address you can be bailed to as a home address, you could be kept here to go to court tomorrow. Because we only bail people when we know their home address.
If we don't know your home address, we can't bail you. You'll end up being remanded and kept for court tomorrow. Is there something funny?
It's the same for anyone who comes in here. They cannot give us an address for where they live. We can't let them leave the police station because we can't suspect they're going to attend at court, can we?
You've not confirmed your name. You've not confirmed your address. So how can we let you walk out?
Confirm. confirm my name and my address at the front desk.
Right, well, you should to confirm your name and at least your date of birth for this interview, aren't you?
Because everything at the front desk isn't recorded or anything like that. Where it's only when in custody that it is.
You want to confirm your name for us now? Or your date of birth?
You're telling me you don't know my name?
Well,
I'm asking you to confirm
You're
it.
telling me you don't know it?
We do know your name.
We believe it to
Right.
be.
Know my address as well.
Right, well, I'm asking you
Stop messing
to
about saying you
confirm.
don't know my address or my name. You can remind me because you don't know my address.
Yeah?
You do know my
Well,
address.
you've not confirmed
Yeah,
it, have
confirmed
you?
it then, have you?
Which that's what we need to do.
That's as simple as.
Not confirming anything. No consent.
You see, you've been arrested. Your consent has been taken away from you. Your liberty has been taken away from you. That's why you're here. When they were upstairs talking to you in that voluntary attendance, they said to you, you're not under arrest, you can
I
walk
don't have to
away.
consent to anything. I can say no consent for anything I want in my life. The only person that can make me consent is that creator up there, not you two.
Do you live at that address on your own? You got any flatmates, any partners that live there? Is there anyone else with access to your flat?
Is it rented? Do you pay rent on that flat? You live alone then? You just confirm on the tape that you have a wife, girlfriend, lives with you? Sons, daughters, any family members? Like I say, this is your chance to tell us if we're wrong. Do you know it's illegal to grow cannabis? Anything else you want to add?
Is there anything at all that you wish to say on the tape before we finish the interview?
Right. Time by my watch is 17:42 and this interview is concluded. There's a notice here which explains about the rights and entitlements of the tape. You can get a copy if you like.